The first time they tried to push me out of my own life, it happened in front of 300 people, and I smiled like I didn't feel my ribs crack. If you like stories where a woman is pushed quietly, professionally, politely, until she finally stops being polite, hit like and subscribe, because this one ends with badges confiscated, doors locked, and the people who laughed at me learning what paper trail really means. My name is Natalie Reyes. For 7 years, I was the person companies called when their biggest accounts were on fire. I managed enterprise client migrations at a fast-growing SaaS and consulting company in Chicago called MeridianWorks, the kind of place that says it's a family right up until it decides you're disposable. My title was Senior Client Program Lead. Translation, if a bank system crashed at 2 a.m., my phone rang. If a VP needed a miracle by Monday, I made it happen. If sales overpromised something impossible, I built a timeline that made it look easy. I kept the lights on, and I did it under Darren Holt, our director of delivery, with espresso breath, a perfect haircut, and a talent for repeating your idea in a deeper voice and getting applause for it. For a long time, I treated Darren like weather. Annoying, unavoidable, but not personal. Then we landed the biggest contract of my career, Hawthorne Health, a national healthcare network with 42 clinics, 200,000 patient records, and a deadline that could bankrupt us if we missed it. $12 million. Meridian printed mugs about it. Darren called me into his office and said, like he was granting me a gift, "You're leading it." "Great," I said. "I'll need a dedicated analyst and full access to the client's security team." His smile tightened. "Sure, we'll make it happen." The next morning, he introduced my dedicated analyst. Her name was Chloe Randall, and she walked into our Monday stand-up like she'd stepped out of a recruitment brochure. 26, glossy brunette hair, perfect blazer, perfect teeth, perfect laugh that landed half a beat after someone else's joke like it was pre-programmed. She shook hands like she was collecting favors. When she reached me, her eyes flicked to my badge. "Natalie," she said, "I've heard so much." It wasn't a compliment, it was a measurement. Darren hovered beside her like a proud sponsor. "Chloe's going to support you," he announced. Sharp mind, fresh perspective. At Meridian, fresh perspective meant we're about to ignore the person who's been here for years. I nodded, professional. "Welcome. We're on a tight timeline. I'll send you the project docs." Chloe's smile widened. "Oh, don't worry," she said. "I learned fast." I believed her. I just didn't realize what she was learning. The rollout started like any other. Discovery calls, security questionnaires, spreadsheets with columns titled risk, owner, mitigation. I was in my element. I built a schedule that accounted for every dependency. I set weekly executive updates that made the client feel safe. I created documentation so clean our auditors complimented it. Chloe sat in on everything. Took notes, asked questions that sounded smart enough. Then the credit started drifting. First, it was small. In meetings, Chloe would clarify my statements. So what Natalie is really saying is we need Hawthorne to prioritize SSO first so we don't bottleneck later. That was exactly what I said. Darren would nod at Chloe like she'd spoken Greek. "Good catch," he'd say. "Nice thinking, Chloe." Then came the emails. I'd draft a plan and send it to Darren for approval. 20 minutes later, the same plan would appear in a new email from Chloe. Same bullet points, same phrasing, just slightly more enthusiastic punctuation. Darren would reply all, "Excellent, Chloe, let's proceed." The first time, I assumed it was a mistake. The second time, a pattern. The third time, I opened the document's version history and watched Chloe copy my entire draft and save it under a new name. It was so simple it felt childish, but it worked because people in power weren't looking for truth. They were looking for a story, and Chloe was becoming Darren's favorite story. I tried to correct it the normal way, private, calm, measured. After a Wednesday check-in, I asked Chloe into a small conference room. I noticed you forwarded the rollout plan under your name, I said. I wrote that plan. She blinked, slow. We're a team, she said. It's all our work. Then keep me copied and don't present my drafts as original, I replied. Chloe's smile hardened. Of course. I'd never want you to feel threatened. Threatened? The little knife slid in gently enough that if I flinched, I'd look dramatic. I kept my face smooth. I'm not threatened, I said. I'm accountable. That night, Darren emailed me. Chloe mentioned you seemed stressed today. Everything okay? We want a positive culture. Positive culture? Corporate speak for stop making noise. I replied, everything's fine, focused on delivery, because I still believed that if I kept producing, the truth would matter. It didn't. The first big public hit came at the monthly all-hands in the lounge. Free kombucha, loud clapping, buzzwords on slides. The CEO, Marissa Kane, announced Hawthorne as our flagship win. Darren walked up with Chloe at his side and clicked to a slide titled Hawthorne Health Delivery Leadership. A headshot of Chloe filled the screen. Under it, Program Lead Chloe Randall. My chest went cold. I looked around, half expecting laughter because it was so obviously wrong, but people clapped. People smiled at Chloe. Darren said, Chloe's been instrumental. She's basically running point on this. Marissa beamed. We love to see new talent stepping up. Something in me wanted to stand and correct it. Something older and wiser said, if you do this now, you will be the problem. So I stayed seated. I clapped, I smiled, and I took a mental screenshot, because if someone was willing to take my work publicly, they were also willing to take my blame. After the meeting, Chloe approached me when the crowd thinned. Wasn't that exciting? She said. Congrats, I replied. She leaned in, voice low. You know what I love about you, Natalie? You make it so easy. She walked away before I could ask what she meant. I didn't need to. The next week, the trap snapped shut. Hawthorne's staging database, where we were testing data migration, was wiped. Not corrupted, wiped. Tables gone, mapping work erased overnight. Hawthorne's CIO called at 6:12 a.m., voice tight. Your team deleted our staging environment. That's impossible, I said. We don't have delete permissions. We have logs, he snapped. It shows Meridian access. He hung up. I was at my laptop in pajamas, pulling audit trails. Meridian access occurred at 2:47 a.m. from an admin account tied to me, my name, my email, my credentials. I stared, like the letters would rearrange if I looked hard enough. I hadn't touched it. I called our security engineer, Luis. Check the logs, I said. My account shows activity at 2:47. That's not me. Yeah, he said. I see it. That's bad. I need the IP, full authentication trail, MFA prompts, device IDs. He hesitated. Darren already pinged me. He's spinning. Spinning. That was Darren's specialty. At 9 a.m., Darren scheduled an emergency call with Hawthorne leadership. He invited me, Chloe, 2 VPs, and Melissa from HR. HR on a client incident call. That was the moment I understood this wasn't a mistake. This was a frame. Darren opened with performative regret. We take full responsibility. We're investigating. Hawthorne's CIO was furious. We want names. Darren sighed dramatically. We've identified the account involved. It appears to be Natalie's. Silence. every eye on me through the speaker. I forced my voice steady. My account shows activity. That doesn't mean I performed it. We're pulling authentication details. Chloe chimed in like she was reading a script. Natalie did have access, and she was coordinating staging tasks. The CIO said, "Is she being disciplined?" Melissa's voice was syrup sweet. "We're handling this internally. We take data security very seriously." They weren't just blaming me to the client, they were building a case inside Meridian. Darren added, like it was kindness, "Natalie will be stepping back from day-to-day leadership while we stabilize." Stepping back. Removed. My hands trembled under the desk, but my voice stayed calm. "I'm not stepping back from anything," I said. "We're going to find the real cause." Darren's tone cooled. "We'll discuss internally." Click. Call ended. My calendar pinged immediately. Performance discussion mandatory. 15 minutes. When I walked into Darren's office, Chloe was already there, perched like she belonged. Melissa sat beside Darren, notepad open. The trio. Darren slid a document across the desk. A performance improvement plan. It listed critical errors, communication issues, failure to follow security protocols, and cited the 247 deletion as evidence of careless access handling. "This is insane," I said quietly. "I didn't do that." "The logs show your account," Darren said. "My account was used," I replied. "That's different." Chloe folded her hands. "Natalie, we all want to help you learn from this." Melissa smiled like a nurse before a shot. "This is a supportive conversation." "What concerns existed before this?" I asked. "What pattern?" Darren cleared his throat. "Some people feel you're difficult. You push back. You challenge." "So competence is difficult?" I said. Chloe's tone stayed gentle. "Sometimes you can come across as intense." Intense. A word women get punished for. Darren tapped the signature line. "Sign to acknowledge receipt." A trap. If I signed, it became a confession. If I refused, I was non-compliant. So I bought time. "I'll review it and respond in writing," I said. "This isn't optional," Darren warned. "I'm not refusing," I said. "I'm being careful." Melissa scribbled. "Noted." As I stood, Chloe whispered, "Try not to take it personally." In the hallway, my hands finally shook. Not from fear, but from rage. Because it became clear they were going to make me the scapegoat, remove me quietly, and let Chloe wear my work like a new coat. Unless I changed the game. That night, I stayed late, not to fix the client issue, but to build a case. I pulled version histories for every Hawthorne deliverable and saved them. I exported Slack threads where I'd given Chloe drafts and she'd resent them. I screenshotted the all-hands slide naming Chloe as program lead. I emailed myself a dated timeline from my personal account. Facts, names, times. Then I called Luis again. "Did you get authentication details?" "Yeah," he said, nervous. "It's weird. The login used your credentials, but the device fingerprint doesn't match your laptop." "Whose device?" "I can't see the exact machine name," he said, "but I can see the browser agent. Safari on Mac." "I used Windows." "Who uses Mac?" I asked. Louis hesitated. "Chloe." And Darren. My heartbeat steadied into something cold and clear. "Export the report," I said. "Darren told me not to share logs outside leadership," Luis whispered. "Luis," I said softly, "this isn't leadership. This is a cover-up. Reply to an email request so it's documented. I sent the email. Lewis replied with the report. There it was, 2:47 a.m. Meridian VPN, Safari on Mac, MFA approved. MFA approved. My MFA was tied to my phone. I never got a prompt, unless the prompt was approved on a second registered device. I opened my security settings and felt my breath catch. A second device was registered, an iPad, not mine, registered 2 weeks ago, right when Chloe started supporting me. I screenshotted everything, hands steady now. The registration log showed it was added from an IP mapped to Meridian's office. Someone inside. Someone confident I'd stay polite. The next morning, I didn't go to Darren or Melissa. I went to Meridian's anonymous compliance hotline, the one they bragged about on posters in the kitchen. I filed a report. Suspected credential compromise, wrongful attribution, retaliation, potential security breach. I attached the device mismatch report, the unapproved iPad registration screenshot, the all-hands slide, and a clean timeline written like it was meant for a judge. Then I called Hawthorne's CIO directly, not to beg, just to protect myself. "Can I send you something off the record?" I asked. "What?" His voice was guarded. "I can't accuse anyone yet," I said, "but the activity attributed to my account does not match my devices. I believe the staging deletion was done by someone else using my credentials. I'm documenting and reporting internally." A pause. Then, "Send me what you have. We're not interested in scapegoats. We're interested in answers." I emailed him the report. Once you file a hotline report, companies do one of two things: investigate or accelerate the firing. Meridian chose option 2. That call to the hotline was the moment I stopped being a good employee and became a problem Meridian couldn't control. And Meridian did what companies do when they're scared. They tried to isolate me. Within an hour, my access started flickering. My project drive permissions disappeared. My calendar stopped syncing. My password expired twice in one morning. When I asked IT, they gave me the corporate shrug. Must be a system update. By 3 p.m., it wasn't subtle anymore. I tried to join the Hawthorne War Room channel and got an error. "You do not have permission to view this conversation." I walked to Luis's desk. "Did someone remove my access?" I asked. Lewis didn't look up right away. He kept typing, jaw tight. "Natalie," he said quietly, "I'm not supposed to talk to you about access changes." That was the answer. I leaned closer. "Luis, if they lock me out, they control the story. I need you to do one thing: preserve the logs. Don't clean them up. Don't overwrite." He finally looked at me, eyes full of fear and anger. "They're telling everyone you're unstable," he whispered, "that you're spiraling." I felt a flash of heat in my chest. "Of course they are," I said, "because if I'm unstable, the evidence becomes dramatic." Lewis swallowed. "I already made a secure export," he said, voice barely audible. "Timestamped. Stored outside the normal rotation. If they ask, I'll say it was for incident response retention." For a moment, I just stared at him, because in a building full of people clapping for lies, one person had chosen the truth. "Thank you," I said. "If this turns ugly, I won't pretend you weren't brave." Lewis gave a small, pained smile. "Just be careful," he said. "They're angry." They were angrier than I realized. At 4:20 p.m., I got a Slack message from Darren. "Come to the lobby now." No greeting, no context, just a command. I went. The lobby smelled like wet coats and corporate air freshener. Darren stood near reception with a security guard beside him. Big shoulders, blank face, hands folded like this was routine. Darren didn't bother pretending to be kind. "Hand over your badge," he said. My stomach dropped. "What?" "This is standard procedure," he said. "Given the investigation, we're placing you on administrative leave." Administrative leave, another phrase that sounds neutral until you're the one being walked out. I looked at the guard, then back at Darren. "You're doing this after I filed a compliance report?" I said. Darren's smile was thin. "You're making this worse for yourself." I could have argued, I could have begged, I could have made a scene in front of the receptionist and the couple of employees heading out early. Instead, I did the one thing Darren couldn't manage. I stayed calm. "Email me the terms," I said, "and be very clear that this is your decision." Darren's jaw tightened. "Give me the badge." I unclipped it and placed it on the desk like a chess piece. "There you go," I said. The guard stepped slightly closer, not touching me, but close enough that everyone could see what he was for. Darren wanted the visual. He wanted the story. Natalie removed. Natalie contained. Natalie silenced. As I walked out, I felt eyes on my back. Not cruelty. Worse. Curiosity. People watching a spectacle like it was a safety video. Outside, the cold slapped my face. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment, breathing, letting my hands shake where no one could see. Then I pulled out my phone and wrote a single email to myself. 4:25 p.m., Darren ordered security to collect my badge and placed me on administrative leave after hotline report. Date, time, fact. Because if they were going to try to erase me, I was going to leave receipts in the margins. By lunch the next day, Darren called me into a quick sync. In the conference room, it wasn't just Darren and Melissa. It was Darren, Melissa, and Kent Wallace, VP of Delivery Ops, the kind of man who spoke in bullet points even in real life. Kent nodded at me like a problem being solved. "We're concerned about your judgment," he said, then slid a termination agreement toward me. Severance in exchange for silence, 2 months' pay, continued health care, non-disparagement, release of claims. Darren added, "You can leave with dignity." Leave with dignity, like dignity was something they could grant or deny. I placed the agreements on the table. "I'm not signing that," I said. Darren's smile vanished. Kent's voice sharpened. "Then we may have to proceed differently." "Proceed," I replied. "I filed a compliance report. I documented device mismatch, and I informed the client." The room went still. Melissa's pen froze. Darren snapped. "You did what?" "I protected myself," I said. "Because you're not interested in truth. You're interested in a scapegoat." Kent tried to pivot. Making external contact without approval, "I corrected misinformation," I said. "That's integrity." Melissa attempted her favorite move. "Natalie, we understand you're emotional." I cut her off. "Don't turn this into a tone problem. I have evidence." Darren leaned forward, voice cold. "Are you threatening us?" I smiled, small and controlled. "I'm documenting," I said. "There's a difference." Kent cleared his throat. "We need to pause. We'll get back to you." "In writing," I said, and stood. In the hallway, I passed Chloe by the copier, scrolling her phone like nothing in the world could touch her. She looked up and smiled. "You okay?" For the first time, I didn't smile back. "No," I said, "but you will be." Chloe blanked. "Excuse me?" I leaned in just enough. "You registered an iPad to my account 2 weeks ago from the office VPN," I said. "Logs don't lie." Her smile cracked for half a second, then snapped back. "That's crazy," she laughed. Why would I do that? Because you thought I'd stay polite, I said, and because you think you're smarter than the logs. I walked away while her face rearranged itself. That afternoon, I got a meeting invite from Internal Audit, plus Meridian's General Counsel, Priya Desai, and surprisingly, the CEO, Marissa Kane. I joined the Zoom, heart steady. Priya's face was unreadable, Louis looked pale, Marissa watched like a hawk. Priya said, "We received your hotline report. Walk us through the timeline." I did, slow, precise, factual. I shared my screen, authentication report, device mismatch, iPad registration, all hands slide, the PIP issued before investigation, the severance agreement offered mid-incident. When I finished, Priya asked, "Do you have reason to believe a specific individual compromised your account?" I didn't leap. I didn't accuse without footing. The access came from a Mac device on the Office VPN, I said. The only people I know who regularly use Macs in our delivery pod are Chloe and Darren. Marissa's eyes sharpened. "Why wasn't I aware of any of this?" she asked. No one answered. That silence told me everything. Marissa looked at me. "Are you able to support the client right now?" I could have begged for my project back. Instead, I said, "I can support the truth. I won't support a cover-up." Marissa nodded once. Understood. For 3 days, Meridian went quiet. Darren avoided me. Chloe suddenly worked from home. Melissa stopped smiling. I updated my resume, lined up references outside Meridian, and drafted a formal complaint in case retaliation escalated. I didn't want a lawsuit. I wanted leverage. On day 4, Hawthorne's CIO emailed, "We reviewed the authentication report. We need Meridian to explain why Natalie's account had an unapproved device registered. We are escalating." I forwarded it to Priya. No commentary, just proof the client wasn't buying their story. An hour later, Priya called. "We're conducting interviews," she said. "We want you in tomorrow, in person." The next morning, I walked into Meridian in my sharpest black suit, hair sleek, makeup controlled. Not to impress them, but to look like the kind of woman who doesn't crumble. The lobby buzzed with strange energy. People glanced at me, then away. Security stood closer than usual. Priya met me in a glass conference room and slid a folder across the table. "We've confirmed a secondary device was added to your account without your consent," she said. "And we've confirmed the device was registered using Chloe Randall's corporate iPad serial number." My lungs expanded slowly. There it was. Clean chain. Clean proof. Priya continued. "During the investigation, we also uncovered unauthorized sharing of Hawthorne's internal data mapping documents sent from Chloe's account to an external email." "External to who?" I asked. "A competitor," Priya said. "Brightline Systems." That wasn't just office politics. That was a felony-sized problem. Priya's voice stayed flat. "The external email belongs to Chloe's boyfriend." A smaller twist, sharp enough to sting. "Her boyfriend works at Brightline?" I repeated. "Yes," Priya said. "We believe she was trying to use Hawthorne's project to secure an offer there." Priya leaned in. "We need to understand. Did Darren know about the external sharing?" I thought about Darren's obsession with control and plausible deniability. "I don't know what Darren knew," I said carefully, "but he benefited. He used the incident to remove me without investigation." Priya nodded. "That aligns with what we're seeing." Then she said, "Marissa has called an emergency leadership meeting at 2 p.m. We want you present." Present, not as an employee, but as a witness. At 1:55 p.m., Priya walked me into Meridian's boardroom. glass walls, long table, designed to make people feel small. Marissa sat at the head with 3 board members on video. Kent was there, Darren, Melissa, and at the far end, Chloe, pale for the first time, wearing a cream sweater like innocence could be styled. Marissa opened. "We're here because Hawthorne escalated concerns about our security practices and because internal audit found significant misconduct." She looked at Darren. "You told me Natalie deleted Hawthorne's staging." Darren cleared his throat. "That's what the logs indicated." Marissa's voice stayed calm. "And you didn't request device verification. You didn't involve audit. You involved HR and issued a PIP within hours." Darren swallowed. "We acted quickly to reassure the client." "Or to protect yourself," Marissa said, quietly. Priya shared her screen, authentication report, iPad registration log, serial number linked to Chloe. Chloe's hands began to shape. Priya showed an email chain, Darren to Chloe. "You need to be the face of Hawthorne. Natalie is too cautious. Take ownership." Chloe's eyes darted to Darren. Darren's face drained. Priya clicked again. Time-stamped proof Chloe's device approved MFA prompts on my account minutes before the deletion. Chloe whispered, "No, no." Marissa asked Chloe, "Did you add a device to Natalie's account?" Melissa tried to jump in. "Chloe is young." Marissa turned her head slightly. "Melissa, you will not speak for her." Chloe's shoulders collapsed. "Yes," she whispered, "but I didn't think it would get this big." A board member asked, "Why would you do that?" Chloe's voice cracked. "I needed visibility. I needed to prove I could lead." Darren said. Darren snapped, "I never told you to hack anyone's account." Chloe whipped toward him. "You told me to do whatever it took. You said Natalie was blocking me." Darren stood up furious. "That's not true." Marissa raised a hand. "Sit down." Darren froze, then sat, humiliated, controlled. Priya displayed another slide showing Chloe forwarding data mapping to an external address at Brightline Systems. Chloe sobbed. "I didn't send it to Brightline. I sent it to my boyfriend to look at. He said he could help me." One board member leaned forward. "Your boyfriend works at Brightline?" Chloe went silent. Her silence answered. Marissa's tone turned icy. "This is theft. This is a breach." Chloe looked at Melissa like a drowning person. "Aunt Mel?" Melissa flinched. Priya stepped in. "During interviews," she said, "we learned Melissa and Chloe are related." The room went dead quiet. Marissa stared at Melissa. What is the relationship? Melissa's jaw tightened. "She is my niece," she admitted. There it was. HR wasn't neutral. HR was blood. Marissa didn't shout. She didn't need to. "Darren," she said, "you are suspended effective immediately. Security will escort you to collect your items." Darren sputtered. "You can't." "I can," Marissa said. "And I am." 2 security guards appeared. Darren walked out between them, shoulders stiff, the room silent. No claps, no whispers. Social death in real time. Marissa turned to Chloe. "Chloe Randall, you are terminated for cause. You will be referred to law enforcement and Hawthorne will be informed." Chloe's sob turned into a gasp. "Please." Marissa's eyes didn't soften. "You fixed enough." Then Marissa looked at Melissa. "Melissa, you are suspended pending investigation for conflict of interest and procedural misconduct." Melissa shot up. "This is outrageous. I was protecting the company." "You were protecting your family," Marissa said. and you used HR to do it. As security approached, Melissa glared at me. You think you won? I held her gaze, steady. I think you forgot you were leaving fingerprints, I said. Melissa's face twisted, and then she was escorted out too. 3 removals, 1 room, and my heart wasn't racing. It was calm, because this wasn't revenge. It was accountability finally catching up. Marissa looked at me. Natalie, I owe you an apology. I didn't rush to forgive. I waited. We failed you, she said. We allowed a culture where visibility mattered more than truth. She glanced at the board. We're correcting Hawthorne, and we're correcting this. Then she offered what most people would dream of. I want you to lead Hawthorne again. Full authority, new reporting line, a promotion to director level. The room waited for my grateful tears. Instead, I asked, why now? Marissa didn't flinch. Because we have evidence, she said. I nodded. No, I said gently. Now is because Hawthorne escalated, because there's risk, because you're protecting Meridian. Marissa exhaled. That's part of it, she admitted, but I am also correcting a wrong. I'll stabilize Hawthorne, I said, for the client and for the team who actually did the work. But I want this in writing. Statement clearing my name, PIP removed, personnel file corrected, HR conflicts disclosed and audited. Priya nodded immediately. Marissa said, done. And I want the severance agreement back, I added. Kent flinched. Of course, he said. I nodded. Then I'll stabilize Hawthorne. For 2 weeks, I worked like a machine. I rebuilt staging with Hawthorne's team, implemented stricter access controls, and wrote a post-incident report so thorough it could survive a courtroom. Hawthorne's CIO called after final validation. Your leadership is the difference, he said. You should be running Meridian. Thank you, I replied. I'm learning a lot. He paused. Are you Stames? I looked out at the city, bright and indifferent. No, I said. I'm finishing what I started. Then I'm leaving. Meridian held another all hands. No kombucha, no buzzwords, just tension. Marissa stood on stage with Priya and clicked to a slide titled Hawthorne Update. In bold, program lead, Natalie Reyes. Marissa addressed the company. 2 weeks ago, we assigned blame before facts, she said. We failed an employee. That ends now. Natalie Reyes did not cause the Hawthorne staging deletion. Her credentials were compromised. She acted with integrity by escalating concerns. We apologize for the harm done. A murmur rippled through the room. People shifted, uncomfortable. No one looked at me directly because discomfort is easier when it's abstract. But the story had changed, and everyone could feel it. Afterward, coworkers approached with shaky smiles. Natalie, I'm sorry, I didn't know, one whispered. I know, I said. Because that was the truth. Most people didn't know. They just went along. Crowds are the real danger in workplaces. Not villains, crowds. Later, Marissa asked to see me. Her office was glass walls and skyline views. The promotion offer stands, she said. Is there anything I can do to keep you? I believed she meant it, but I also believed the other truth. Meridian valued me when I was useful and punished me when I was inconvenient. No, I said gently. You already showed me what happens here under pressure. Marissa's shoulders sank. Where will you go? I smiled, and this time it was real. Hawthorne offered me director of implementation, I said. Better governance, better pay, and they asked me to build a culture where truth doesn't need an anonymous hotline. Marissa nodded slowly. I can't blame you. I stood. One more thing. I said, and slid a folder onto her desk. Process fixes, audit triggers, HR conflict disclosures, security training. Marissa flipped through it, eyebrows lifting. You wrote this? Yes, I said, because even if Meridian didn't protect me, I'm not the kind of person who burns the building down on the way out. Marissa's eyes softened. Thank you. Goodbye, Marissa, I said. 2 months later, I walked into Hawthorne's headquarters wearing a new badge, a new title, and a calmer kind of confidence. No one called me intense. They called me effective. Darren's LinkedIn disappeared for a while, then reappeared with a vague title at a tiny consulting shop. Chloe's name showed up in a court docket I didn't click. Melissa posted a bitter rant online about toxic workplaces, like she'd been the victim. I didn't respond because the best revenge isn't a clapback. It's silence paired with success. When I heard Meridian lost 2 major accounts after Hawthorne demanded stricter security controls Meridian couldn't meet, I didn't celebrate. I just understood. When you build a culture where truth is optional, eventually the truth collects interest, and sometimes it collects it in public, in boardrooms with security at the door. In the quiet moment, a woman realizes she no longer has to beg to be believed. I didn't win because I screamed. I won because I documented. I stayed calm while they got sloppy. I refused to sign away my voice for a severance check, and I finally accepted what I should have known for years. A company that only values you when you're useful will always punish you when you're inconvenient. So I stopped being convenient. My name is Natalie, and this was the last straw. If you enjoyed this story, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe.